Hi everyone, it's Rachel Thexton with Rachel Thexton Connects. I am the host of a podcast. It's hard to believe. I did not want to be the host of a podcast. I like to be behind the camera, working in communications where I belong. But I have a lot to say. I get quite involved and passionate about various things and issues, and I think my husband decided that I should take that energy to the world. Perhaps he couldn't take it all on himself. He does still have to edit every episode and produce it though, so anyway, I'm getting off topic. I am very grateful that I'm going into season 3, 60 plus episodes of Rachel Thexton Connects, authors, best-selling authors. Minister Ravi Kalan, BC's Minister of Housing, former Chief Coroner Lisa Lapointe, whom I respect greatly, a variety of guests. Trilana Manson, an inspirational woman whose son passed away due to drugs at a young age, has become a friend. I have had some wonderful guests, and I continue to book amazing guests. And as I've said before, when people agree to come on, every time it surprises me because I am just I respect them so much. If I'm inviting you to the podcast, I respect you. I want to hear from you. I want to learn from you. And I want to share your story, perspective, and expertise. So thank you, guests. Thank you, listeners. I would love to see more engagement on Rachel Thexton Connects. I want to hear what you don't like about the podcast. I want to hear what you disagree with via my opinions or others. I want to hear what you love. I want to hear what you agree with. I want to hear about who you want to hear discussions with, guests you would like me to invite. And I'll cross my fingers and hope they say yes. More engagement, please, please. I really do want this to be an engaging experience where, I am hearing from a large variety of Canadians. I am hearing from quite a few BC residents, and I appreciate that. And I value each and every piece of engagement and respond to everyone. But please keep it coming. I want that engagement. I need those questions, comments, criticisms. Tell me I sound terrible. Don't worry, I have thick skin. I can take it. Please, love the engagement. I'm coming on this evening because I wanted to kind of let you know where I'm at in this journey with the podcast and just really discuss a couple of timely topics that I think are important, and I would love to hear from listeners. This is not going to be a visual episode, as we are now doing as of the launch of season 3. Be soon launching episode number 2 of season 3. The hereditary chief of the Squamish Nation, Ian Campbell, who I was floored, agreed to take the time, almost an hour, to speak with me. It was absolutely a fantastic discussion, and it's almost ready to go live. I can't wait to share it with you. It's a wonderful discussion. I learned what a trickster is. Those who are listening who are Indigenous will surely know, perhaps those who are non-Indigenous as well. I did not know. Found it very interesting, as well as a variety of other things that I learned from Chief Ian Campbell. Thank you, Chief Campbell, for joining me. I look forward to launching your episode in the next 24 hours, less than. Had a great first episode with Kid Carson. Some of you may be surprised that Kid Carson was my first episode, considering our differences of opinion. But as I've said before, I think it's so important for people who disagree on certain issues to sit down. And I like Kid Carson. I think he's a good person. I don't know him very, very well, but I have a good gut for people, I think. I have good instincts, and I like Kid Carson. I think he's kind. I think he's a good listener. I think that he has good intentions and the right to have his beliefs and to share them. And I really, really enjoyed and was quite honored that he agreed to be the first episode of season 3. So thank you, Kid, for joining me on season 3 of the podcast. I was tucking my boys into bed tonight. My son is 11 years old. My youngest son is 6, about to turn 7 in November. You may remember from prior episodes, my 6, soon to be 7-year-old son, Grayson, has ADHD. He is incredibly smart, amazingly funny and creative, sensitive soul, but just wise as well. And he's attending a land-based school in South Surrey, as I've mentioned a couple of times. Also has Indigenous components. We're on Semiamhu unceded territory here in South Surrey. And the principal at his school is absolutely fantastic. I love the concept of land-based learning. Incorporating more and more Indigenous components into the learning is vital, and I think it's great. Where we're running into challenges are the peers. There are far too many children who are in the 2nd grade, 7 years old, and use, the F-bomb and swear words I will not repeat here today on a regular basis in every sentence, and putting them into Christmas carols and writing them on papers and everywhere. And my son now knows how to spell these words. And he, with his ADHD, has more impulsive nature than other children may. So when those things are in his mind, especially when he knows that they're not things he should be sharing, he tends to even share them more and then be disappointed in himself and come back on himself with kind of self-hatred. And so the whole cycle is really a negative cycle for him. We are a Christian family, not a religious family. Organized religion, and religion is a human, mankind thing, but we are a Christian family. We attend Village Church in Surrey. I think it's a great church. Prior to that, we were at Coastal Church, downtown Vancouver on Georgia Street, also a good church. I grew up, my grandfather is a retired pastor, so I grew up in the church 4 times a week. I can tell you I did not enjoy it at that time, but I do enjoy church every Sunday. Faith is a big part of my life. It has been, especially in the last year. We are in a very unique time. It's a cliche, but it really is a broken world, I feel, more so than it has been before. And I've turned to my faith with optimism, with hope, with patience, and with dedication. And it has helped me through some pretty challenging experiences over the last year or so, especially the last six to 8 months. This is kind of a taboo topic, hot potato. I don't know what you'd call it. People don't really talk much about it. Many of you know I have very liberal views, but I also have a very strong faith. So I don't know where that puts me, but I won't be put in a box. I believe everyone should have the rights and opinions that they have, and I respect and love them for it. And I also have faith and attend church. And on that note, would love to get my children into Christian education in British Columbia. Unfortunately, I have been unable to do so. I've officially applied to 4 in the Langley, Surrey, White Rock area. And it is either a capacity waitlist issue, but more so than that, it is an issue around Grayson's ADHD, which then becomes an issue for me. Because I believe that Grayson, as a wonderful 6, soon to be 7-year-old boy with a sensitive heart, who has struggled since kindergarten in the public school system, should have equal, if not more, access to faith-based learning than another child, or at least equal. He should have equal opportunity. And I get it, they want to be able to have the expertise and the teachers to support Grayson. He's not a violent child. He doesn't need to have, a staff member with him all day at school, just for him. It's not that way. But he does need to have educators who have knowledge on neurodiversity, which I believe all educators should be required to have anyway. But he does need that, because they need to understand how he learns best. They need to understand how he needs breaks and how he feels strongly. He has big emotions. He has big emotions when it comes to happiness, excitement. He has big emotions when it comes to anger and sadness. He has big emotions when he's bullied and targeted because he doesn't want to hurt anyone. He won't even report when he is bullied physically or verbally, because he doesn't want that child to get in trouble, doesn't want that child to dislike him more, etc., etc. So we cannot currently get our children into faith-based education in British Columbia, in the area in which we live, which we're flexible with. We live in South Surrey, but we're willing to go to Langley, White Rock, Surrey. We might even consider Vancouver. We just really want them in that environment for this reason. I believe that families that are willing to invest, and it's not, big private school money. First of all, we don't have those funds to send 3 children to private school. And I don't know that I'd want them in that environment, where children tend to be, provided with more luxuries than I would like my children to have, but not always. I don't want to stereotype. But I think when families invest some finances in their children's learning, especially when it's faith-based, they have also hopefully invested time in their children's behavior, personality, values, morals. And that's important to me, because it is the peers that have been the issue. And when I say that, children are never the issue. It's the way in which children are experiencing the world, whether that be at home, whether that be with a caregiver, after school programming, I don't know. But I want him around children who are kind, understanding, empathetic, patient. I know children are children. They can't always be that way, but he seems to have just been surrounded by a lot of children who are very unkind. And I'm kind of reaching my limit on that one, and really want him in an environment where he can have this learning, and he can also have more of a chance to be around peers with values that we share in our home. I know that Christian schools certainly aren't perfect. Don't get me wrong. I'm not that naive. But if you have any advice or tips on that, I would really, really value it. It's something that we're really, really concerned with currently, and would like to pursue as soon as possible for all three of our children, our youngest going into kindergarten in September of 2025. I'm sure you're all refreshed that this monologue is not related to substances. Most of them are, considering my passion for that issue. I saw on Twitter and was thrilled, thank you Sarah Blythe for tweeting me, that someone very special is heading off to recovery. I believe the picture was on an airplane. Smokey D, one of the city's most popular and talented graffiti artists, is heading to recovery. I don't know any details, but when I heard the news, I said to Sarah on Twitter, my heart just blew up. I was so thrilled and just hoping and praying that the recovery that he is seeking is the one that's going to be right for him and it's going to work for him, because I would love to see him, if he's at a place where he feels he wants to stop using substances, be able to do so, and live a long, healthy life, providing this world with his beautiful art and soul and kind personality. He's also a father, and I'm sure his child is going to be very, very happy about the fact that he's seeking treatment at this time. So that's amazing. I went this evening with my husband, who was able to vote for the first time in a Canadian election. He became a citizen recently. So this was the first time that he could vote. So we voted here in South Surrey. I won't go through who I voted for and why. Don't worry, it won't be that kind of a chat. I'll say that both parties have sticky points for me, but one party has a lot stickier points for me. So I'll just leave it at that. I hope you all voted. There's people that don't have that right. Women who can't vote. We can never take it for granted. I watched them put my ballot into this machine, counted it. I think I was 15:20 of the evening at that voting center as my ballot was fed into the machine. And I was thankful to be able to be there tonight to vote. I know my husband was as well, voting for the first time in this country as a Canadian. And yeah, it was a special experience. I think, voting time, election time, we were talking about all these issues, and, those involved, politicians are, talking about what they need to change and what they're going to do. And sadly, some of them spend too much time talking about how the other party and other candidates aren't doing the right thing and what they're doing wrong, which is always a red flag to me in a political candidate. But anyway, there are so many issues. Listen, this podcast has never been a light one. I don't talk about the latest skincare, although I'm quite passionate about skincare, actually very passionate about it. I don't talk about that, nor do I talk about celebrity gossip or, light things that are happening in the world news. I don't talk about taboo topics like, I don't know, what's the most popular podcast currently. I don't sit with a girlfriend and talk about my date last night. I know that my podcast topics are deeper. It does change my audience demographic. It does affect the growth because listeners have to be invested in the topic and they have to want to learn. They have to want to be a part of the discussion and be interested in it. It's not light listening for the most part, but it won't change. It's designed to be that way, and I think I have to stay true to how it's supposed to be. I mean, the odd episode will be a bit lighter. Sure, I mean, I love funny episodes. I did a great one with the Dumb Dads. They are influencers, digital content creators from the United States who are absolutely hilarious. And they, really play off this, the dad does nothing misconception and their online content. Another duo that I was shocked agreed to come on, but it was a fantastic episode. If you can check out the Dumb Dads on the podcast and just on social media, please do. They are so funny. My husband and I just watch them and listen to them and think, oh my gosh, this is our life. They are hilarious. If you have kids, you'll love it. But yeah, the podcast has, we're 60 something episodes in, going on to our third season. Great response. I've gotten some letters. I live in 1982. I've received some emails recently and text messages, WhatsApp messages. Listen, I still say record a show instead of PVR it, so just stick with me here. From people who have expressed their love for the podcast and the content. You don't know what that means to me. It means a lot. There is a lot of work that goes into producing the episodes. I think very carefully about the guests that come on to the podcast. I provide a question outline so that the guest feels safe in the space when they're speaking with me. We promote it quite heavily before, during, and after. And my producer and husband works extremely hard and does an amazing job producing on sound, adding tiny little sound effects that you might not even notice, but that are there, themed with the guest. Excuse me while I have a sip of water. I don't know how people do that naturally in a podcast, but there you go. Yeah, a lot of work goes into it. And I don't say that as a complaint. I say that just to let you know how much it means to receive a message. I received one from a former colleague and a friend the other day. You know who you are. You referred to the podcast as RTC, Rachel Thexton Connects abbreviation. And you don't know this, but I am telling you now that we are creating a logo for the podcast. It's being designed currently. Rachel Thexton Connects is quite long and hard to put into a logo. So RTC is going to be incorporated into the logo. Thank you. You know who you are for the RTC. I hope I don't owe you. I don't know if this is something that I've taken intellectual property. I hope not. I think it's my name with the word connects, but RTC seemed to work and it made sense. It was simple and I hadn't thought about it. But I really appreciated your message, and your RTC is now going to be a part of my logo. So you are forever a part of the podcast. Thank you for your message. It made my day. Really did. I was about to leave the house, going to where was I headed? To a tough meeting, actually, going over some crisis work. So it really helped to kind of put me up a level. Thank you for that. I want to discuss a couple other quick things before I sign off for the evening. I've been working in public relations now for almost 24 years. Um, I work really hard, long, long days. I am very fortunate that I have my own business. So I work, from home office. I can work remotely. If I need to be away, I can do that. Obviously, the children limit that somewhat, but a lot of privileges, obviously, with owning your own business and making some of those choices on your own versus being in an environment where others make them for you, or where you don't have as much of a say. But there is a lot of work. And I certainly have reached many points in being a business owner where it's been a major burnout, exhaustion. I love what I do. I'm passionate about the results that I provide to clients. When I invoice my clients, my invoices itemize what I've done that month. So you can imagine every month if you're working with me, you're receiving an invoice that's itemizing every single thing I've done for you that month. So you'll never have to ask the question, what has Rachel done for me this month? Why am I paying her? And I want to make sure that not only is that list robust and impressive, but that I feel good about the results and that I know, because I know what good PR results are and aren't. And you can present them as being great, but I know what they are. And, I do have a fairly, sensitive heart and conscience. So trust me when I say that I work really hard to make sure that every month my clients have amazing results. But in order to do that, I have to work pretty hard and long hours. It's a really unique time right now. Journalists are working their butts off too. Like, they are working hard. And I know that they're not getting the big paychecks. I get that. It must just be, they have a passion. I've spoken with several of them on the podcast. Tune in. I've spoken with amazing journalists, Lori Colbert, Carrie Gold, Angela Jung. The list goes on. Anna Burns in community news. It's amazing the work that these journalists are doing. The fake news thing kind of annoys me simply because, the journalists here in British Columbia, not only are they kind and ethical, but they are the opposite of fake news. They are gathering the facts. They are balancing the story. They are, 99.9% of the time reaching out to both sides, offering the opportunity and making sure that they are doing their due diligence to present both sides of an issue, if it's an issues-based story. And, there are fewer of them than ever. We're in a digital age. They're adapting to digital, or they have been for some time. And then we have, content creators, and there's so many different personalities in the content creator space. There's content creators who are just, all about, Miss 604 is a content creator, also a blogger. But she's just so incredibly humble and authentic. And, since day one, I don't think anything has changed about her approach when it comes to how she monetizes off of her blog and her content. And as the number one blogger in the city for year after year, I imagine she could have made massive amounts of money off of this, but instead she chooses to be very true to, her community, what her blog is about, staying authentic to who she is and her community and her audience and the 604 and what she wants to do. Huge amount of respect for her. But anyway, that's kind of, there are different types of personalities in the space. So it's kind of getting to know them. And then there's, you get to know new ones who are just coming on the scene as kind of micro influencers, and it's pay to play. And, it's a bit odd to me because, you're just kind of getting going and your following isn't quite there yet, but you have kind of pretty big spends on, a reel or a story post. And it, I don't know, it just, sometimes there's a little bit of lack of tone. Not a lot though. This is rare, but just a little bit. Sometimes I'm seeing that in the content creator influencer space. It's rare, but there. I think the reason it's notable to me is just that it's so alien in this environment, because journalists and digital personalities are always just so ethical, kind. They get it. Pay to play is fine, if that's your structure. I understand it in certain portions of media. Sometimes a story isn't an earned story, it's a bought story, it's a purchase story. I understand that influencers produce and spend amazing amounts of time on their content, which is really well done, and that's worth money. And they shouldn't give it away for free. And I understand those who have massive reach and, they are sharing. I have also seen media kits where there have been numbers that would shock you for a reel or a carousel. So it's a really interesting space to be in. I see a lot of journalists that I worked with over the years now working in communications and public relations. I think that's great. I would imagine there'd be some growing pains, probably just kind of getting used to, in some cases, just getting used to, pitching those journalists that maybe you used to work with might not be so comfortable. I don't know, or whatever the growing pain may be. I could never be a journalist. I studied it and couldn't do it. I've said before, I always wanted to make my sources look better than they were. I was empathetic to their situation, and that just does not make a good journalist. It makes, someone who is not presenting a balanced story. So I could not be a journalist, and then public relations worked for me. I'm not a spin doctor. Don't like that term. I do not spin things. We present facts. If you work with me, we present facts. We phrase them in a way that is clear, concise, resonates with people, but there's no spinning. I mean, spinning to me is making something sound a way that it's not, which is in essence a mistruth and a lie. And so there's no spinning happening at Thexton Public Relations. One of my least favorite terms, always has been, spin doctor. We are not. I am not. If you would like a spin doctor, I'm sure you could find someone who would be happy to do that. But I am more about authentic communications. In the long run, that's where you're going to build relationships, public relations with your stakeholders. So yeah, the career part of things has been an interesting time. It has been for several years, but really intensifying now as the journalism space, you hear about layoff, you hear about this show being canceled, this news broadcast no longer running. So disappointing, and just, people will not realize until it's not there how valuable news journalism is. Content creators, bloggers, digital websites, I read them, love them, respect them. Have nothing negative to say about them. This is simply a commentary on the fact that journalism is vital. We need it to keep people accountable. We need it to inform us. We need it to entertain us. We need it to let us know what's going on in the community, to show both sides of a story. A journalist has, a certain, they have a set of standards of being a journalist that they must follow, and they do follow in this province. And that's really important, and we have to keep that alive. So if you can support local journalism, I highly encourage it. Just a subscription to your local community newspaper even. It's usually pretty inexpensive. Or if you have a favorite digital site, if you love the Tyee or if you love the Vancouver Sun, subscribe to their e-issue. If you want to do more and you have the financial capabilities to, by all means, subscribe to Globe and Mail, the Vancouver Sun, your local digital paper, and others. It's, let's support them and just, remind people how important it is. This whole fake news thing is just, I'm just so tired of hearing the term, because I don't believe that it really exists much in British Columbia at all. And so it doesn't belong in the dialogue here, in the narrative. So anyway, that's the last time I'm going to say that word. The logo's coming. Second episode of season 3 with the hereditary chief of Squamish Nation, Ian Campbell. And then I have an amazing 3rd, 4th, and 5th guest booked, which I can't wait to talk more about. Have other ideas for future guests. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for taking the time to engage with me. Thank you for guests, for trusting me, for opening up to me about sensitive things, stories that aren't easy to talk about, for trusting me that I'm not going to switch and bait on you on things that are, maybe a little bit intimidating to chat about. I really appreciate that you trust me with your stories. Storytelling is a passion of mine, and to hear your story is a privilege, and to share it is an honor. So I'm going to end on that note. Rachel Thexton Connects, now RTC on the logo. Be kind and truly connect. You are listening to Rachel Thexton Connects. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much.